It was a Thursday morning, February 22nd, 2024, on the campus of the University of Georgia. For 22-year-old Laken Riley, this sound was her routine. A nursing student, a former cross-country runner, a young woman described by everyone who knew her as a beautiful light, passionate about her future in healthcare. Her path, it seemed, was set. She was training for a nursing exam. Her run that morning was a step toward that future. It was the most ordinary of acts. At 8:55 a.m., her thumbs moved across her phone screen, a text to her mother. "Good morning, about to go for a run if you're free to talk." It's a text a million daughters have sent, a text that means nothing until it means everything. At 9:03, they had a brief call, ordinary, unremarkable. At 9:05, a campus security camera, a silent electronic witness, captured her one last time, phone in hand, moving with an athlete's easy grace toward the wooded trails of a Coney forest park, a place students went to escape the concrete, to find a moment of peace. At 9:06 a.m., she turned onto the trailhead. She vanished into the green. For the next 22 minutes, a private and unspeakable horror unfolded in that quiet stretch of woods, a horror that would only be pieced together later through the cold, hard language of evidence. Because at 9:11 a.m., a 911 call connected from Laken Riley's phone. No voice pleaded for help, no words were spoken. Dispatchers listened to the dead air, to the muffled, ambiguous sounds of what might have been a struggle. They heard what we now know were the final moments of her life. On her wrist, a Garmin smartwatch, a device meant to track pace and heart rate, became an accidental witness. It recorded her vital signs spiraling. It captured the violent, frantic spike of a heart under extreme duress. And then it recorded the flat, final silence. Her heart stopped at 9:28 a.m. Her roommate, growing worried when Laken didn't return, reported her missing just after noon. The search was immediate and frantic, and it ended far too soon. At 12:38 p.m., police officers discovered her body in the woods near Lake Herrick. The scene was brutal. The medical examiner would later detail the cause of death: blunt force trauma to the head and asphyxiation. The weapon was a rock. The violence was intimate and extreme. The autopsy revealed 8 separate injuries to the left side of her skull. Investigators determined an attempt had been made to sexually assault her. This wasn't just a murder, it was an ambush, a crime of opportunity that escalated into a frenzy. It was the first on-campus murder at UGA in over 4 decades. The illusion of safety in that idyllic college town shattered in an instant. The investigation that followed was a vortex, sucking in resources and focus. Police worked all the clock, and within days, a name emerged from the chaos: Jose Antonio Ibarra, a 26-year-old man living in an apartment complex named the Georgia Quarter, just 1 mile, a short walk from where Laken's body was found. The evidence against him piled up with a speed and certainty that left little room for doubt. It was a chain of forensic facts, each link stronger than the last. First, there was the jacket, a navy blue jacket discarded in a dumpster near Ibarra's apartment. On that jacket, forensic analysts found strands of hair, and those hairs were microscopically and genetically matched to Laken Riley. Then came the DNA, the gold standard of modern forensics. Swabs were taken from under Laken's fingernails, the evidence of a desperate final fight for her life. The DNA profile extracted was a match for Jose Ibarra. The statistics were staggering. The chance that it belonged to someone else was 1 in 10 billion, a number so large it ceases to be a probability and becomes a certainty. Then a fingerprint, a single clear print lifted from Laken Riley's phone. It belonged to Jose Ibarra. And finally, the marks on his own body. When police took him into custody, they documented fresh, distinct scratches on his arms and wrist. The story the evidence told was simple, linear, and horrifying. He attacked her, she fought back, scratching him, embedding his DNA under her nails. He took her phone, leaving his print. He disposed of his jacket, which carried traces of her. The puzzle was complete. But as the Athens Clarke County Police built an ironclad criminal case, a second, more politically explosive narrative was detonating in the national press. U.S. Immigration and Customs Forces, ICE, confirmed a detail that would transform this local tragedy into a national flashpoint. Jose Antonio Ibarra was a Venezuelan national. He had entered the U.S. illegally in 2022, crossing the border near El Paso, Texas. He had been apprehended by border officials and then released into the country with a notice to appear in court at a later date. He was what authorities call a gotaway, only in the sense that he was processed and let go. But his encounters with the system didn't end there. Records showed he was later arrested in New York City in 2023, accused of endangering a child. He was arrested again in Athens, Georgia, for shoplifting, and for that shoplifting charge, a bench warrant had been issued for his failure to appear in court. Jose Ibarra had not just slipped through one crack in the system, he had slipped through a series of them: a border release, a prior arrest, an outstanding warrant, and now he was in custody for the murder of Laken Riley. Facing the mountain of evidence, Jose Ibarra's defense strategy took a shocking turn. He waived his right to a jury trial, opting instead for a bench trial where a judge alone would decide his fate. His court-appointed attorneys then pointed the finger at another suspect, Ibarra's own older brother, Diego. They suggested Diego was the real killer, that Jose was being framed or was taking the blame. They argued the evidence was circumstantial, but the prosecution's case was built on bedrock: the DNA, the fingerprint, the jacket, the timeline. In November 2024, Judge Hatrick Haggard presided over the trial. He heard the testimony, reviewed the forensic reports, and rendered his verdict. Jose Ibarra was found guilty on all 10 counts he faced, including the core charges of malice murder and aggravated assault with intent to rape. There was no emotional jury to sway, just the cold application of law to fact. At the sentencing, Laken's mother, Allison Phillips, delivered a victim impact statement that laid bare the true cost. This monster took away our chances to see Laken graduate nursing school. He took my best friend. The judge sentenced Ibarra to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 35 years. For the crime itself, the legal system had delivered its form of justice. The legal case ended, but Laken Riley's death ignited a political firestorm, leading directly to the Laken Riley Act. This law mandates federal detention for undocumented immigrants arrested for crimes like shoplifting, aiming to close the systemic loopholes her killer had exploited. After stalling initially, it was signed into law in 2025, etching her name into federal statute. On campus, the tragedy left a lasting scar. Students run with fear, using tracking apps and new emergency call stations, while a memorial of running shoes honors her memory. Her story is a multifaceted American tragedy, a brutal crime solved by forensics, a profound human loss for her family and community, and a potent political symbol that reframed national debates and ultimately changed the law, all originating from one ordinary morning run.